Hello and welcome to Module 3, Unit 4 on phonetics, and in this unit I'll be talking about diphthongs. In the last module I introduced you to the sounds of English and the vowel sounds of RP. In this unit I'll move on to diphthongs and consonants. What are diphthongs? Diphthong is a glide from a vowel sound to another vowel sound. A smooth glide from one vowel sound to another vowel sound is defined as a diphthong. What is a glide? Glide is a smooth movement. When you move from one vowel sound to another in a very smooth fashion, then that's how you produce a diphthong. In addition to 12 vowel sounds, we have 8 diphthongs in RP. What are these 8 diphthongs and how do we produce diphthongs? One needs to follow only one rule when one is producing diphthongs. One, that the movement from one vowel sound to the other vowel sound should be smooth. It should be a glide. It should not be a gallop or a jump. It should be a very smooth glide. The second rule is that the first vowel sound in a diphthong is more prominent than the second vowel sound. Let's look at the diphthongs of RP and show you and see how these diphthongs are pronounced differently by Indian speakers of English and why they sound different. So let's come to diphthongs. The first set of diphthongs are diphthongs which are based on which end with the vowel a, with the vowel shwa. The diphthongs ia as in bia, the diphthong ua as in the sound pua, and the diphthong ea as in the diphthong ua, ea. So ia, hia, sia, ia. The second diphthong is ua as in pua, tua, and so on. And the third sound which ends with the vowel shwa is ea as in pea, sea, kea. That's the vowel ending, 3 diphthongs ending with the vowel shwa. Next we move to the diphthongs which end with the vowel u. Say the diphthong aw as in how, now. The diphthong is a combination of a and u. A and u. Now, how, wow. That's a diphthong ow. Another diphthong ends with the vowel u, and this is the diphthong that we are most guilty of mispronouncing in India. The reason is that this sound, which is really a diphthong in RP, is pronounced as a vowel sound in Indian English. The diphthong is o, as in go, as in home. Do you ever use this sound in Indian English? No. Why? Because Indian users of English make this diphthong sound, which is a combination of the vowels a and u, o, into o. So we tend to say go, home. It's not go, it's go. It's not no, it's no. It's not home, it's home, oh. So the diphthong is turned into a vowel sound by Indian learners of English. Now we move on to diphthongs which end with the vowel e, and we have 3 diphthongs which end with the vowel e. I as in fly, I as in fly, oi as in boy, oi as in boy, and a as in gate. A as in gate. So what's the problem with this sound again? As Indian users, we tend to make this sound, which is a diphthong in English, A, we turn it into a vowel sound and we say A. We change it to A. Do you remember there being a sound A among the 12 vowels that we spoke about? No, there was no A sound. It was either A or A. There was no A sound. But Indian speakers tend to make this sound, which is a diphthong, A, and E into A. So we say gate. Have you taken the gate exam? Is the gate of your house is wide open? So it's not gate, it's gate, gate, plate, hate, sate, and so on. So let's revise the 8 diphthong sounds of RP. The 3 diphthong sounds which end in the vowel schwa, ia as in ear, ua as in poor, air as in air. The 3 diphthong sounds which end in the vowel e, I as in fly, oi as in boy, and a as in gate. Finally, the two diphthongs which end in the vowel u, ow as in how, and o as in go. What's the problem with Indian learners of English? The problem is that we forget the rule that in a diphthong, one must not stress each of the sound equally. One must not distribute the stress between each of the vowel sound equally. Instead, the first vowel sound should be more prominent, and in order to make the first vowel sound, we must stress it more than the second vowel sound, so that the second vowel sound is very faint. So instead of saying I, you say I. Indian speakers say I, fly, cry. It should be fly, I, high, cry. You say, why are you crying? I want to tell you this. I want to go flying. Go fly a kite. Instead of that, go fly a kite. This is very high. I want to tell you this. So, I, high, why, try. It should be, R should be more prominent than E. Similarly with ow, Indian speakers say, how did you do this? How did you do this? How could you do this to me? You putting equal emphasis on the first vowel and the second vowel. It should not be equal. The first vowel sound should be more prominent than the second vowel sound. So it would sound like how, now, not how, not now, how, now. Yeah. So I, how, this is how you must put equal weight, not put equal weight on both the sounds, but make the first sound more prominent than the second sound. In fact, what happens to us is that when we are speaking fast in connected speech, the second vowel sound almost disappears. So if I say, I'm so happy today, what happened to the I? I didn't say I am so happy today. I said, I'm so happy today. The became am become I'm so happy today. I didn't say I am so happy today. I said I'm so happy today. So the second vowel sound almost disappears. Now with that brings us to triphthongs. What are triphthongs? Triphthongs are a combination of 3 vowel sounds. Like diphthongs are a combination of 2 vowel sounds, triphthongs are a combination of 3 vowel sounds. The rule is the same. The first vowel sound should be prominent, the second should not be prominent. And because of this, the second sound in a triphthong is almost inaudible. Let's take some examples. So let's take the same examples which we took for the diphthongs and turn them into triphthongs. So let's take the triphthong aya. A as in play, and if we say play a, it becomes a triphthong. So A and a, player, oi and a, employer, employer. Hour, that's the most commonly mispronounced triphthong. So we say in the first hour, let's meet. What do we do with the oo? We swallow the oo, because the oo is supposed to be said very fast, and when you say it very fast, some people tend to make it disappear altogether. You say, I'm going to meet you in the first hour. Let's meet in the tower. Let's have you had a shower? So it's not shower, it's not tower, it's not shower, it's not tower, it's not hour, it's hour, tower, shower. So remember that they are triphthongs, but in the diphthongs we use the same rule, that the second sound is not as prominent as the first sound. From diphthongs we come to consonants, and in consonants, what do I need to tell you? I need to tell you that in consonants, Indian learners of English do not have that many problems as compared to, say, Chinese learners of English, because in Chinese language there are no separate phonemes for l and r, and because of that Chinese tend to confuse l and r, which might be allomorphs in Chinese languages, to confuse, to make these sounds, to use these sounds interchangeably. In India we don't do this, Indian speakers don't do this. What are the problems with consonant sounds when it comes to Indian speakers? The problems with consonant sounds when it comes to Indian speakers is mother tongue interference, not in terms of the sounds of Indian English or sounds of Indian languages being similar but not identical to those of the sounds of RP or British English. How is that so? And how do these sounds change? Because there's a very imperceptible difference between the two sounds, it's very easy to confuse one sound with the other and make a fool of oneself. So we have a sound in English. Remember, in the very first lecture I said, if we don't have a sound in our language, we are unable to produce that sound. So say the vowel sound A is in German, like the sound in the German spelling or German pronunciation of the city of Cologne. You say Köln, Köln. That sound A, Köln, is not there in Indian languages. So when Indian speakers pronounce that sound, it's difficult for them to pronounce that sound, just as it's difficult for North Indian speakers to use the sound R as in the Dravidian languages. So one of the sounds in English which is difficult for Indian speakers to pronounce is the sound j, j. The j sound as in the word pleasure, leisure, pleasure. So what do Indian speakers tend to do? They tend to pronounce the j sound as either as sh or as z, but never as j. So they would say, it's my pleasure to meet you, it's my pleasure to meet you. They would not say, it's my pleasure to meet you, pleasure, je, je. Come in your leisure time. They would say leisure time, leisure time or leisure time. And there's one variation which I find in the north of India, particularly in north, among a certain generation of people who are in their mid-70s to 80s. They, for some unforeseeable, unfathomable reason that I'm not aware of, this generation of speakers in Punjab always tends to pronounce the word pleasure as player, leisure as layer. So I would hear elders of that generation saying, it's my pleasure to introduce so and so. And it's very embarrassing when you are in the head of an institution and you are introducing a very renowned speaker. You're standing before a crowd of 500 people and you say, it's my pleasure to introduce so and so. Or don't worry, do it at your leisure, there is no hurry. So I don't know how they got to pronounce the sound sh as I, but they do it. They still continue to do it. But in the majority of other consonant sounds in English, we find that the sounds are not completely impossible to produce. They are not completely not there in Indian languages, but they are said differently, and they are said differently because the place of articulation in the Indian languages is different from the place of articulation in British English. And as a result, when new learners of English, new speakers of English who come from Indian languages, of Indian language speakers, when they learn English for the first time, they carry over the articulators and the speech habits of their mother tongue into English language, which sounds very amusing to people who are fluent in English. So, let me give you a very common sound which is mispronounced, which sounds very amusing to people fluent in English, but new learners often make this mistake and very confused when they find that they are not able to, people are laughing at them. What are these sounds? The sound p, p, and the sound f, the sound p and the sound f, p, f. What's the difference? What is the English sound and what's the Indian sound, Indian language sound? In Indian languages, particularly in Hindi, let me take the example of Hindi, not all, because all languages are different and I might be making too wide generalizations if I claim to speak for all languages. Forget all Indian languages, even all North Indian languages if I make these generalizations. So, the sound pa in Hindi is the sound pa. Please watch my lips. The sound is pa, as in the word pool. The term in Hindi for the word flower, flower is pool, pool, pool. Watch it. It's a bilabial sound. That is, we use both the lips to produce the sound. Pa, 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 pool. Now, when we make this sound in English, it's not a bilabial sound. We don't use both the lips. We don't say pa. It's a alveolar sound. What does that mean? That the upper teeth touch the lower lip. So, you say fa, 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 fa. You don't say pa, pa. You say fa, fa. So, suppose you are saying the same word in English, the word which is F-O-O-L, which is very different from the Hindi word pool, which means flower, the English word F-O-O-L, which means someone who is stupid. If you say it with the Hindi articulation place, if you say it like a new learner of Hindi, of English, who is a Hindi speaker says it, it will sound like pool. Why? Because you are using the articulators of Hindi, pa, to say the sound f. So, you would say, you are a pool. My father told me. It's not funny at all, because this learner is applying the rules of or the familiar articulators of Hindi to produce a sound which is an English sound. So, you would say, instead of saying my father told me, you say my father told me. Why? You are making a genuine mistake, because you are carrying over the articulation habits or the articulators of Hindi into the enunciation of English sounds, and they sound ridiculous, they sound very amusing to native speakers of English. But for most of you who don't make this mistake, I am sure you don't say per instead of fur, you say fool and you say father, you don't say pool or father. But do you realize that most of the mistakes Indian users make are of this category, that we use the articulators of Indian languages to produce the sounds of English, and they sound different when we speak English. Let's take some other sounds which are not so familiar to, which you don't realize. What are these sounds? Like the sound v, v. Now, in English there are two sounds. There is a sound v and there is a sound v. v, and the other is v, and they are two different sounds, v, v. One is in very, the sound as in ve, very, and the other is the sound v as in well. So you say very well, but in Hindi we don't have two sounds for v, we have only one sound which is closer to the second sound of English as in well. It is v. We say Vinod, Vishal, which is like the sound in well, it's not the sound in very. Okay. So when we are speaking English, Indian users are speaking English, we say very well, very well, very well, we say it identically, whereas the sound is very well, very well, very well, very well, we say very well. Similarly, when we say the sounds th and the, take the sounds th and the sounds the. Indian users of English say them as th, 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 because the Hindi sound is th with your mouth closed, th, with your both your teeth you say th, thakan, fatigue, thakan. In English you don't say th, you say th. It's a alveolar sound, your upper teeth touch your lower lip, th, th. So you Indian users would say the English sound as they say the Hindi sound th, and they would say th as in think, I think, I think, whereas the British sound is th, th, and that sounds like think, think. So Indian users would make it like the Hindi sound, think, think, think. Similarly, thing, thing, thing. In English, it's an alveolar sound where the upper teeth touch the lower lip, thing, thing. But Indian users would say thing, thing, thing. They would not say thing. They wouldn't say something, they'd say something, anything, anything. So these are the slight differences when we use the consonant sounds. We are able to produce these sounds, but we are not able to produce them exactly because we use the familiar articulators of our Indian languages. The sounds we produce are very different from the sounds produced by native British speakers of English. Next, move on to consonant clusters. That's another area which is a problem for Indian speakers. When we have a combination of two consonants together, how are they said? Indian speakers tend to make these, when they are using the consonant clusters, they tend to pronounce each and every sound, and they sound different from native speakers. Say the two sounds ng, one is a sound ng and the as in sing, and there is another sound which is n and g. Combination of sounds n and g, the cluster where you don't have a vowel between n and g. There are two sounds n and g in a consonant cluster. We don't, and that's very different from the sound ng, ng. So sing, sing, hang, and finger, finger. Okay, so you say sing, hang, finger. In finger, it's not the sound ng. It's a combination of two vowel sounds n and g. Indian speakers tend to confuse the two, and they'll say, give me a hanger. They don't say hanger. My finger is hurt. I need a hanger. But the two are different. One is a consonant cluster, which is finger, ng, and the other is ng, which is hanger, hanger. So we must watch out for these, that we must realize that one is finger, ing, the sound ng, and the other is a consonant cluster, n and g. So there are similar consonant clusters where we make these mistakes. Finally, we have a problem with sounds which we call semi-vowels. At the end of words like hidden, little, kitten, the sound n and l, which are actually consonants, turn into vowels. They turn into vowels. So, you saying kitten, little, hidden. This here n and l themselves work as vowels. So, you do not have to add a vowel between this. Indian speakers say kitten, hidden, little. They add a vowel between t and l. You must understand that l itself is a vowel. So, you do not need to, it is a semi-vowel. So, you do not need to add the e or a sound between d and n and t and l. So, you say kitten, you have to say it very fast, kitten, hidden, little, written, yes. So, these are semi-vowels. Other than this, Indian speakers of English do not seem to have major problems with consonants, except that the slight variation in the place of articulation or the use of a different set of articulators. As I said, in per, if you use the you make it a bilabial sound instead of a alveolar sound, the sound will change and you will say pool instead of fool. You will say poo, pool instead of fool when you are pronouncing that word. Other than that, we do not seem to have too many problems pronouncing the consonant sounds of in English language. Another thing that occurred to me is vowels, consonants, diphthongs, triphthongs. These are the 4 sounds of English that we practiced and understood. Now, most of the problems of Indian speakers, one of the problems I would say which native speakers have identified is, they say that the sounds you make are not sounds of English at all. They are not British sounds at all. They are different. So, the first area that you must try to work on if you are trying to improve your pronunciation of English is to learn first of all what are the sounds of English and try to imitate the sounds of English, either by practicing these sounds in a drill form, which I would be happy to share with you if you would like, or better ways to listen to native speakers of English or to professionals who have mastered the art of speaking English, even though they may not be native speakers. The best way for you to improve your pronunciation of the sounds of English is, the first stage is to know how the Indian English sounds are different from those of British English, and the next stage is to try to unlearn the way you use these sounds and to speak them, to enunciate them as a native speaker would do. Thank you.
For speakers of some languages, it may be difficult to tell the difference between the voiceless sound s and its voiced partner z. Listen carefully to hear the difference. For each example, I'll say the word with the voiceless sound s first. Hiss, his, course, cause,